Yeah. Uh, thanks. Thanks everyone for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started. Um, Over the last couple of years, Aim for Scale has been working with the World Meteorological Organization, a lot of other partners that you're going to see here today, to see how we might scale up weather services to millions of farmers around the world. There's a lot of advancements in the technology around weather and a lot of opportunities to potentially democratize it through AI weather interventions, meaning that it'll be easier to be used because you don't need the big supercomputers to run physics models, and potentially can be used in lots of places. This gives us the opportunity to scale it up around the world. And we want to discuss some of these issues in the way that we're working Aim for Scale. We're working with the WMO, but also with development banks, with regional entities, trying to get everyone to work together to see if we can go from the production of the information to make sure that it's delivered to the farmers. So this is what we'd like to talk about in this session. We'd like to start with Albert Fischer, who from the WMO. He's going to give some opening remarks as well as provide some information to us. Dr. Fischer is the director of, make sure I get this right, the Integrated Global Observing System Division at the World Meteorological Organization. We were just talking, he's an oceanographer by training. Thank you very much for joining us. So I'll hand it over to you for some opening remarks. Thanks.
So thanks very much. And it's my pleasure to be here. So as introduced, I'm the director of the Observing System Division, but here I'm really talking on behalf of all my colleagues. I'm one of the few in the WMO delegation left here. Most of them have left already, and my agricultural services colleagues are online. Next slide, please. And again, next slide. So we talk often about the value chain. So in order to deliver meteorological services and services, weather and climate services at the local level, there is a global infrastructure that's necessary, and that's the part that I work in. We need observations, weather observations from the entire globe, and increasingly observations of the entire system. We need standardized international exchange of those observations, which are then taken into prediction systems. And we have an operational global numerical weather prediction system that works with 12 centers around the world to create the weather forecasts and the climate forecasts that then, in order to deliver service, need the rest of the chain. So we need the local data processing, the forecasting, warning, and advisory products at the regional or the national or even smaller scale, the delivery of those services, and that is what, through engagement, can lead potentially to effective decision-making and action related to weather and climate. Next slide, please. So in WMO, we take an Earth system approach, and this is driven really by the need to predict and make projections of weather, climate, water, and related environmental services. And our focus historically has been on the atmosphere. As mentioned, I'm an oceanographer by training, and the ocean, other parts of the Earth system help us in the predictability at longer timescales. So weather predictions at the 10-day timescale need ocean observations as well as the atmospheric observations from around the globe. And as you go to climate timescales, you need more and more components of the Earth system. Next slide, please. So in order to improve weather prediction around the world, we worked through the entire value chain, but since it's my area of observations, let me just focus on the observing system side for a moment. This is a measure of around the world of how successfully we're meeting a minimum requirement that WMO has set for the taking and sharing of weather observations around the world. You can see that in many developing country areas, particularly in Africa and the Pacific, the red colors are worse. Much more investment will be needed to meet this minimum standard of providing surface and upper air observations. So WMO, along with UNEP and UNDP, has co-created the Systematic Observations Financing Facility to help members meet that GBON obligation. It's focused initially with support to least developed countries and SIDS, and we hope to make this map more and more blue over time. Next slide, please. So what would that do? We worked with the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, the ECMWF, to look at what the potential impact would be on forecast skill if we were able to implement this set of basic observations in all countries around the world. In this case, blue is better. It's the improvement in forecast skill if this system wasn't put in place. And you see where those biggest data gaps were in Africa, in the Pacific. We see up to 30% improvement in the forecast skill on the short range, and we expect that that would continue into the medium range as well. Next slide, please. So now some words about further down the value chain, and this is from my colleagues in WMO. Next slide, please. So these are the future focus, the priorities for services, agricultural meteorological services over the next few years. And they really reflect different roles that WMO takes. So as an organization, we have a normative role, we have a role in research and innovation, and we have a role in capacity development and projects that are funded by others. So WMO provides, in this normative role, provides guidance to members on weather and climate applications for agriculture and food security. As part of that, we're enhancing the integration of local and indigenous agro-climatic knowledge to ensure that countries can make use of traditional expertise alongside technological forecasts. We provide agro-meteorological knowledge, technical advice, guidance products, and appropriate tools to stakeholders. We work in providing online innovative capacity building on agro-meteorology. And in this role of project execution and project advisor, we provide assistance to countries on drought monitoring, early warning systems, and the development of national drought plans and policies. And that really sets a stage for understanding how climate services can directly support farmers on the ground in that link with the project execution on the ground. Next slide, please. In terms of climate services and farmer needs, farmers really can use clear and actionable climate information to make daily and seasonal decisions. And climate services can provide weather, seasonal, and climate change insights to guide planting, irrigation, and pest management. And the ultimate goal in this engagement with farmers is to translate forecasts into practical advisories that farmers can use. But to make these services effective, this user engagement and really an understanding of what kind of information can make a difference in decision-making locally is critical. So next slide, please. So WMO takes a participatory process for climate services in agriculture. And we have approaches like farmer field schools to allow farmers to understand how updated climate information can help them plan actions. And that participation, that engagement between the technical side, the forecasters, and the farmers is really important in making sure that advice is relevant, it's trusted, and it's applied in real decisions. Research shows that farmers use climate services more and more effectively when they're involved in their developments. And so that's this participatory approach is something that WMO is really promoting. Next slide, please. So WMO is involved in Aim for Scale as a technical advisory partner. And our contributions are in 3 areas. One is in country engagement with the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services, also through our network of regional training centers. The second role is as technical advisor for different aspects, including country support needs and priorities, as well as engaging the capacity development work that WMO has more generally into the Aim for Scale program. And coordination to align the program with WMO priorities and initiatives. These priorities are set by our members, the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services. So beyond this program, I wanted to talk about some broader challenges in agrometeorology, and particularly around artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is really has the potential to revolutionize the way we make predictions. Next slide, please. So there's a few key issues that relate to both agrometeorological services as well as the integration of artificial intelligence. As I mentioned, we really need this strong multi-partnership engagement, multi-stakeholder engagement to bridge the gap between the users and the providers of climate services, and ensuring that we work closely with the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services. The engagement the other direction with the farmers, with the farming communities is essential. And the participatory approach builds trust and ownership in these climate services. It's also important that this not be a one-time, single project-based engagement. The long-term interaction with local communities is really important to sustain, to improve the take-up and to improve the feedback into the services provided. So We're working, in fact, to bring innovation to meteorological services and innovations like artificial intelligence. Yeah, we really think of this as a tool that can help us address the problem, not necessarily, and it's definitely not the solution to all problems. But let me tell you a little bit more about our AI activities. Next slide, please. So towards the middle of the value chain, so from observations to data sharing, we have the data processing and prediction system. This is WMO's integrated processing and prediction system, WIPS. And WIPS has been working really hard through project basis in understanding the potential of artificial intelligence on prediction systems. Generally, WIPS aims to provide, it does provide these global meteorological services through 12 global meteorological centers I mentioned, the regionalized specialized meteorological centers that are providing services regionally for specific applications. And to make these products the most useful and the most timely possible, we're really always trying to innovate and bring the latest technical solutions in. So AI tools, what they are able to do is exploit data and really accelerate kind of the transformation of data observations into good prediction systems. They also have the potential, because they require much less computing capacity at the regional or national level, to be expanded, to be democratized. So WIPS is working through 6 different pilot projects to address these. And you see the projects there. So the AI for nowcasting pilot project, the data-driven weather forecasting for all, AI and tropical cyclone analysis and prediction, a weather prediction model intercomparison project, a global riverine flood prediction pilot, and for longer term work into the climate space, the AI Weather Quest. And so I want to talk and highlight just one of these pilot projects, which is the data-driven weather forecasting for all. So this is a pilot project that's a cooperation between Met Norway and the Meteorological Service of Malawi in collaboration with the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecasting. And it's introducing a high-resolution AI-based weather prediction model called BRIS that was developed by Norway using an infrastructure created by ECMWF that creates a resolution in Malawi at 2.5 kilometers, so very high resolution. And it can run on a simple desktop computer. In this case, it's a $5,000 Apple Studio, Mac Studio. So through this pilot project, we're investigating the possibility to transfer AI technologies from advanced countries to developing countries. And we have a little video on this project. So I'll ask my colleagues in Geneva to play the video so we can hear it.
We are here at the World Meteorological Organization for the Extraordinary Congress in 2025. We have just demonstrated the outcome of a pilot project we have had with our colleagues in Malawi. Around the forecast, you press this button. So let's see what happens if
Let's see what happens if I push the button.
Yeah, oh, you launched it. And I think it has already produced the precipitation for the next up to 36 hours. Starting from today at 6 UTC, so that's the first forecast, and then 6 hours later and so on, up till tomorrow at 12 UTC. And this is the precipitation forecast. So you just produced that for Malawi. We have used 2 main components. One is the forecast in a box, which has been implemented by the ECMWF, and the other one is an artificial intelligence-based prediction model called BRIS, developed by Met Norway. And this model, BRIS, has been moved to the domain of Malawi, and together with our colleagues in Malawi, we are now able to produce forecasts for the Malawi region.
This is super fresh. You're the one first to see this. And this one, but this is much more recent because this so much you see the better.
This project is the first of a series of pilot projects where we aim to see how weather forecasting based on artificial intelligence can improve the forecasting of extreme events as well as regular weather in countries in the global south, and at the same time building capacity in this these countries so that they can themselves run and operate weather prediction based on artificial intelligence.
So that was Roar Skellen, who's the permanent representative of Norway to WMO. He's the head of their meteorological service, and this was a demonstration that was set up 3 weeks ago at the Congress at WMO in Geneva. And that small computer you saw, the box, can run this very high resolution 2.5 kilometer prediction system for Malawi in a matter of a couple of seconds, something that would take on a supercomputer traditionally a couple of hours. And that box was given to the head of the meteorological service of Malawi in Geneva. She carried it home in her hand luggage, and it's now set up in Malawi. And they're working with Met Norway to really try to understand the potential and validate the model in Malawi and turn that into agricultural and other services from the high resolution prediction. So just in closing, I really wanted to reinforce our commitment to supporting end-to-end agro-meteorological services, from climate data to products on the weather timescale, really with a focus of helping farmers be more resilient to climate variability and change, and of course, weather events. So we look forward to our continued partnership with Aim for Scale, including its broader partners, the Gates Foundation, the United Arab Emirates, and various multilateral development banks involved. And we hope the partnership can be expanded to more countries with greater involvement from WMO. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks. Thank you, Albert. That's very helpful. So we want to move on to a panel discussion, and we didn't just pick 4 people, drag them over here to do this. We consciously, if you listen to what Albert said, we talked about the different elements that are needed to scale up weather information. So first, on the production side, you need to make sure you're producing that weather information, but you need to bring it down to the countries, to the regions. Then you also need to make sure that you're doing the right kind of weather prediction and the best for a given country. There's all these new AI models. What is the best one? So you need some of that benchmarking, as we saw on the slide. Then you need to bring it to the countries themselves and scale it up and make sure farmers often get that. So we put together a group of people to help talk about some of these issues. So the first is Usman Ndai. He is the acting Director General of the African Center of Meteorological Application for Development, APMAD. So he's going to be talking to us a bit about delivering meteorological information in Africa. The second is Ana Maria Lobo Guerrero. She is the Director of Adaptive and Equitable Food Systems at the Gates Foundation, who has been a big supporter of Aim for Scale along with the UAE, as well as a big supporter in trying to bring weather-generated information. Then we're going to also talk about how do we scale this up with the countries, and we have 2 of our partners here. We have Xingfang Zhang, the Senior Director of Agriculture, Food, Nature, and Rural Development from the Asian Development Bank. Please come up. If you don't know, and I guess you'll talk a bit about it, has announced a very large increase in funding to agriculture over the coming years. That's quite exciting. We see this now from the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank, increases in funding. And then lastly, and definitely not least, Maya Schling, who's a senior economist in the Agriculture and Rural Development Division at the Inter-American Development Bank, who is also a partner with us and has also recently announced the IDB that they're going to try to reach 60% of farmers in Latin America with new projects. So to start out, I'm going to ask you all a general question. The first is that we've seen remarkable advances in how science and technology, particularly artificial intelligence, can enhance precision and accessibility of weather and climate services. From your perspective and the perspective of your organizations, what are the most important steps needed to ensure that these innovations reach farmers and translate into real farmer-focused impact on the ground? So I'm going to start with you, Usman. I'll give you this microphone and grab another one.
Thanks very much, and hi everybody. It's really a pleasure to share the panel with Anna Maria and with our two banks. Thanks very much for that. Yes, indeed, a lot of progress have been made. I mean, the presentation here show a lot, but we still have some bottlenecks we need also to solve. Of course, first of all, he mentioned it is the data. We need to go to evidence data at the scale because action are taken at the scale as a farmer scale. If you look at Africa, you know, the farm scale is really slow. Even the high resolution model now we have still is challenging. But moreover, we need tools, but you need to have really the right data at the scale because as we say, garbage in, garbage out. So that's one thing. The other thing, of course, is trust. Many farmers, small farmers, before taking information, they need to trust it before taking it. So you can get the best technologies, the best channel, everything, but if they don't trust it, they will not use it. So you need really effort of convincing them, piloting, explaining them how it is. And there are a lot of things inbuilt on that. Maybe we'll come into it. Language barrier, because sometimes they are illiterate. Even accessing to some mobile phone is difficult for them. Sometimes even the network is not existing. So all those challenges as bottleneck, of course, to ensure that we can get that. Another thing, of course, is to ensure that there is a market. It's not just having things, you know, getting good crops if they can, but the problem is also how they can profit on it. So next year they are confident they can do it. And when I talk about market, I'm talking about the whole chain. Is getting the right seed, the right fertilizer at good price, and also storage and able to sell it. That's also another challenge. Of course, I believe that lot of, as I said, lot of good, very leapfrogging effort has been made. AI is a very great tools, but still, we need to ensure that the farmers have access to this. So the information is not just useful, what I mean, publishable, whatever, but it should be usable, very accessible for farmers in terms they can understand. And that is really the challenge. And the last one I will do is upscale. In Africa, we see a lot of good piloting happening. A lot of projects are doing really great things. But the big question is how to get it at scale, how everybody can have access to that, and no one left behind. Because what we see in Africa is many countries are left over, many communities are left over for many reasons. So we need to break those things. So how to do it, that's really another challenge. So I will limit myself to that. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Anna Maria, the same question to you. What are the most important steps needed?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question and thank you for the invitation to the panel. So my response is very similar to what Usman said. And I mean, this speaks about the long time that I have been interacting with Usman and a lot of the things that I know about climate information services, I learned them from him back in 2013 when we were in Senegal, in Kafrine, talking to the farmers. So a lot of things that Usman already said resonate a lot. But perhaps going back going one step back, giving you a little bit of background of the Gates Foundation and how do we see this work. So we are really focusing our agricultural development program because we have 20 years to reach the impact that Bill Gates wants to see in terms of reducing poverty. And we believe that the agricultural sector is one of the sectors that can really help in terms of reducing poverty in sub-Saharan Africa. And this is why we are investing so much in the agricultural sector. So we want to see objectives or outcomes in terms of increasing productivity, increasing incomes for small-scale producers. We focus on them. But also we want to make sure that the innovations that we are delivering through our grants are reaching the hands of farmers. And that's where I really resonates what Usman was saying, because we know that AI has tons of potential, but if we are not able to land that into farmers, then we are not going to be able to reduce poverty, especially working on the agricultural sector. So the steps, I would say you need to think about accuracy in terms of weather forecast. So that's important. And we already heard that. We need to think about timely delivery. So many forecasts are reaching the hands of farmers when it is too late to make decisions. We need to think about the channels for dissemination, and it's not only one channel. This is very country specific. Some places is SMS, some places is radio, and especially thinking about a specific population such as women farmers. Then you need to bundle information. We have seen through our many projects that it's not only climate information. Farmers need the climate plus the markets plus the prices, etc. So that makes a difference. And then I would say that business for sustainability. So how do we think about the production and the delivery of climate information in a sustainable way? Who is paying for how? How we think about public-private partnerships for delivering on climate information. So I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thanks. That point on timing is quite interesting. In one of the countries we were working in, I won't mention which one, but it takes multiple days to approve the forecast because it has to go through different steps of the bureaucracy. And so you have a forecast, but if it's going to take 6 days to say what the forecast is, it's a little too late. So it's a very important point. So Jingfeng, from your perspective, what are the most important steps needed?
Yes, thank you so much, Paul. Again, thank M4Scale to invite the IDB attend this very important session. Also, IDB together with the Inter-American Bank and World Bank also part of the M-Scale. Again, as Paul you just mentioned about IDB to respond to the huge demand for food system transformation. IDB's president this year just announced artificial intelligence with the forecast, digital applications. One of them is the key for this transformation. So just learn the comprehensive presentation from the ABO. I want to just quickly to reflect 4 key points. Number one, again, is the beta data is quite essential. So that's why ADB is we work together with the government to highlight 2 reasons. One is the upgrade is the observation stations and the data systems. 2 is improve the forecast modeling and including the AI-based downscaling. And same time also ensure the data flow smoothly across the agencies. Again, in many of the countries, the quality of the data they are very weak. So we believe that without this quality of the data, whichever the APP and also the checkbox or advisory, will not, help the farmers make the best choices. So beta data is very essential. Number one. Number 2 is institutional coordination is quite critical. So again, the climate services involve the many agencies. You just name agricultural, meteorology, ICT, and also of course disaster management, environment, and many others. So in this case, if you don't coordinate, farmers receive the very delayed or inconsistent information. In this way, in our portfolio, IDB is working very closely with the government to ensure the 3 things. Number 1 is clear data sharing rules. Number 2 is clarify agencies' laws. And also number 3 is build a simple, workable arrangement. So the information moves from the national level and to the farmer side. And then the number 3 I want to quickly share is farmer behavior was quite critical. You need to test what actually work for the farmers. That is very, very super important. I think many of the systems fail because of we are never tested with the farmers. So in this way, in the ADB's investment, we are start with a small low-cost trial, and then integrate in our ADB investment. So 3 things quite important. One is how the farmers respond to the different type of the services. 2 is what the format really work best. Of course, including a voice message or is SMS text message or Apple message or extending services talk to person by person. And fairly is, of course, is what information farmers will trust and continue use. Again, one of the belief is that if the farmers not use whichever the beautiful things that you have, that not really help. Finally, of course, growing the huge demand for the artificial intelligence, digital, machine learning. So IDB also work with the world governments to invest in both in the visual AI technology, AI advisory system, and also invisible things, high quality forecast. I think this is both of the invisible and the non-invisible things, combine them together, very critical. So again, part of this 40 billion of investment, with the focus is quite crucial. So we are very happy work together with the WMO and others. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Xingfeng. Just to emphasize this point about the behavioral response of farmers, I'm sure you, like me, you guys get a lot of messages on your phone, and sometimes you read them and sometimes you don't. How you do those messages, how you draw people into to read those messages, to use those messages is important. So there's a lot of work around A/B testing, trying different approaches to see if you can get take up. And this is one of the things we're trying to work with the ADB, IDB on trying to figure that out. So thanks for bringing that up. Maya, to you.
Thanks, Paul. Pleasure to be here today from IDB side. And I think a lot of the things I was going to say were already covered, but I can provide a little bit of a perspective for the regional context in Latin America and the Caribbean, because of course there's a lot of potential for these tools to provide farmers with timely information to make better investment decisions and therefore improve their productivity, their food security. But the best AI-based forecasting tool won't help if the farmers don't receive the information on time or don't feel that it's useful or don't know how to use it. So from the IDB side, we've been carrying out a number of pilot projects to better understand how these tools can be used effectively to actually help farmers on the ground. And there's a couple of elements that we see are important. So one of them, and that's something that Albert, you also mentioned that I think is really important, is that the delivery systems are people-centered. We know that traditional extension systems that are top-down haven't been as effective in delivering support because there isn't that trust in the communities, in the farming communities, to really rely on that information, or that the information that's delivered is very one-size-fits-all and isn't necessarily adjusted to the local context and needs. So, starting out a participatory peer-to-peer process where farmers are heard and their needs are understood is really crucial to then adjust how the content is delivered to them, that they feel that it is useful for their production cycles, for their risk preferences, and for their local context. That's one element. The other one then is, and that's something that Paul and Xingfeng also just mentioned, is that the mechanism is appropriate for the context. We have a large diversity, and I'm sure that's the same in Africa and in Asia, a large diversity of how digital tools are used in a rural context, depending on how remote they are. So some farmers already use smartphones, others, and have WhatsApp groups and the like. Others still rely on community radio or their local communities to receive information. To focus first on what is the best mix of these different mechanisms to design the right one to effectively deliver the information to the farmers. One pilot project that was evaluated in El Salvador for palm oil farmers that use a digital advisory system to deliver weather information to farmers, kind of evaluated what the best delivery mechanism was. And it found that even though WhatsApp messages were effective, it really worked best when there was personal contact with extension agents on the ground, and also behavioral nudges that send a reminder message to the farmers, that had some interaction. That's really where the effectiveness was increased. So, before these are scaled up, we really have to understand what the needs are and how best to deliver these messages. And once you have that information, that's when you can start scaling up. And that's where institutional capacity at the national level comes in. And you need to support government, the systems that really, can produce that information that can then be delivered to farmers. Just as an example, we're working with the Ministry of Agriculture in Chile currently to develop a platform that will that takes meteorological information and uses a phenological crop modeling to predict or to identify diseases and pests and plants, and then sends out spray application recommendations to farmers so they can protect their crops from those pests. And we're not only supporting them on implementing the systems and having the institutional capacity to produce that information consistently over time, but also to identify the right delivery mechanism across different needs in the country. And as you can imagine, Chile has a lot of different heterogeneous regions to really understand how all farmers can use that information. So to summarize, I think it's a mix of people-centered content, the right delivery mechanism, and the institutional capacity in the back end to really deliver impactful information on the ground.
Thanks, Maya. That focus on human-centered design is very important. It's great you brought that up. Usman, we'll go back to you. Ahmed plays a crucial role in regional coordination and knowledge sharing. What is needed to strengthen collaboration between the national, the regional, and the global to ensure innovations reach farmers?
Thanks very much. Of course, definitely, climate is not just local. That's why, as you mentioned, we work with global centers that WMO helped establish, like ECMWF, NOAA, etc. So we need to think global, to think much more complex, not only climate for everything. So that's why centers like regional centers, continental centers really are important to ensure that they capture, the weather pattern on the best models that exist to ensure we have the information. How they work together, of course, is complementary. For us in AGMAT, we are kind of bridging between global north ones and Africa, and also south-south collaboration. We have good collaborations with India. We are looking for Brazil, and ECMWF is a big center that we get that matter. So we need those centers to play that role. Of course, we know that things will be acted at local level, at community level, at a country level. So that's why our mandate as a regional climate center of WMO is to help national weather services. We think national weather services is the one we need to provide climate information. They have the mandate, they are state-based. In terms of sustainability, of course, it makes sense to work with them. So we support them in terms of training, we support them exchange experience. You mentioned about what WMO is trying now in Malawi. We are following up. In the upscale, we want other African countries to play a role. That's our role as regional centers. Just ensuring that best practice, everything is shared between different nations. People will not reinvent the wheel. Of course, national weather service need to play a role. And I mentioned always when I met with PR, the term services need to have meaning. They need to deliver services to sectors, not just sending a bulletin, not just sending a message, but ensuring that it's actionable. They can make a decision and they have a feedback of people, going from just what the weather will be to what farmers can do, can act at local level. And that's very important. So if you see that cascade, that's really what we need. We need global centers. We have, lot of resources, doing the forecast, capturing all those, signals that exist, ensuring we have the best model everywhere. But regional centers also need to help National Weather Service to bring them what they need, ensure that the technology is there, they share information between different countries for the betterment of the farmers. But you want to also get feedback from the farmers to understand what the farmers need, to understand some feedback that the farmers is giving, to ensure that they get the information on time. As you say, timely is very important, the channel is very important, even the content is very important. And understanding, moreover, that the information is not climate. Climate is part of it, but we need other things going. How can we bundle, as you said, all those information is important. So our role is really to ensure those things happen, to ensure people are exchanging, are benchmarking, all those kind of things that we are needed to do.
Thank you, Usman. Ana Maria, what kind of investments do you see as most critical to bring innovations like AI-powered weather forecasts to millions of small-scale producers in particular?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So We, in our agricultural development program portfolio of the Gates Foundation, we have two priorities. So one, it's investing in AI better weather forecasts, but that's all the way from upstream to delivery and make sure that this information is used. And then the other one is AI and agro advisories, which is using different ways of dissemination and mostly reducing the cost of delivery agro advisories to small scale producers, especially in countries where extension systems are not well resourced, they don't have enough staff. So those are two of our high impact priorities in our program. So in terms of investments, and we have taxonomies for each one of these areas, and we are putting investments into the boxes of each part of this taxonomy. So one is investing in corpus. So we need to make sure that we have the right info, that it's feeding the LLM models. And we are very keen in terms of saying, you know, we need to understand the needs of different types of populations, especially women, because usually the information addresses a prototype of farmer, which is usually a man. So really trying to make sure that we are feeding these models with information that respond to the specificities of the different types of farmers. So that's one investment. We also are investing in understanding the best ways of disseminating the information that is coming from the AI models. And we have discussed this, I think all of us, in terms of saying it's not only one type of way of disseminating, it's radio, it's also thinking about when are we delivering the messages, it's thinking about different languages so that all people can access this information. So investing in really understanding the best ways and then investing in testing these dissemination mechanisms and making sure that we are not leaving populations behind and what we need to adjust to make sure that AI, it's really benefiting everybody. Then another thing that we are doing, it's investing for going beyond reaching. So it's not just the 100 million farmers that WMO for scale is going to reach, but it's understanding what happens after that. Because at the end of the day, what we want to see is that these farmers are using this information that it's delivered through different mechanisms to make decisions that can improve their livelihoods. So really understanding that last step from reaching to impact. And then something that I guess Usman also mentioned, investing in trust, because we believe that we can have the best AI model and we can have the best information, but some of these technologies are new for farmers. They're a little bit outside from what they are used to. So it's a matter of really face-to-face time and then going with them. I was talking to Bruce, one of our grantees working for Tomorrow Now, that it's part of Aim for Scale. And she was telling me, you need 3 seasons to, bring that trust. So first season, you start talking to the farmers, what's going on. The second season, they are eager to talk to you. And finally, the third, you get them to address this. And then final investment is what I mentioned previously, investing in business models for, producing and delivering the information that comes from the LLM models.
Thank you very much. Ana Maria mentioned Aim for Scale. We announced we're going to try to reach 100 million farmers by 2030. And of course, we've done the math to figure out which countries those would be. But part of the point of doing that is to point out the need for scale. But everything that's been said here is absolutely right. Just reaching them isn't good enough, right? You have to make sure that you're reaching them in the right way, that you're getting the right information, et cetera. So that's the big challenge. But we can't get overwhelmed by the fact you have to do all these things and only get 10,000 farmers helped out. We have to think of how do we reach those millions of farmers. So one way we're hoping to reach that is through the development banks that are very committed to agriculture. So my next question is going back to Qingfeng and Maya. So Qingfeng and Maya, how are the Asian Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank working with countries to ensure these innovations are adopted in a sustainable manner through both their financing instruments or both your financing instruments and your policy support? Qingfeng.
Thank you so much, Paul. Again, come from the MDB perspective, one of the key belief or the observation very beginning, we know introducing innovation, of course, is an easy start. But ensuring the country can use, maintain, and fund this system for long term, that is really challenging. So that's why we saw is the importance to work together with M-Scale, WMO, and many of the MDBs to scale up. This is quite essential. In this way, we focus on three key things. Number one is we finance the system, not just standalone pilots. Again, ADB, of course, we integrated the digital climate services components directly into our lending in the agriculture, in water, logistic, natural resources management. So what this type of investment can achieve three things. Number one is enable the government can allocate the long-term budget. That is quite essential. Two is the system become part of the normal operations. Number three is also the maintenance is also planned from the day one. Operation and maintenance for the long term quite important. In some of the cases, we also introduce the public-private partnership. So after this services deliver, we need to have the private sector can also provide the services as a private sector providers, ensure the maintenance can deliver on time. Number two is we strengthen policies and also institutions. Again, from the climate services perspective to ensure they last, countries need to have the simple but very important rules. So that's why the ADB supports these reasons. One is clear the data sharing policies. Two is support the basic standards, and then the systems can talk to each other. And then finally is a long-term plan for the digital agriculture and also the climate services. So ADB's technical assistance is support the governments put these places before and during the investment, and then the system don't collapse after the project ends. That is quite important. And then finally, ADB, we ensure all the investment fairly can reach the farmers. Again, this one of the digital platform we establish, we understand that if in the end they not reach the farmer, this is low value untoward. So in this case, we invest the number of the cases. One is the stronger extended services, and the second is a simple voice or the text advisory in the local languages. And the number three is the outreach that includes the women and the vulnerable populations. And then at the same time, the back to forth check what's happening on this system. Simply to ask the questions: are the farmers receiving the information? Are they using it, or are they benefiting for this system? That is quite essential. Ensure the system are working. So again, when the government sees the farmers actually uses the services, they are far more willing to maintain and also finance the type of system. So again, ADB, even though as a MDBs, we are part of the scale, but again, we believe at the end of the day is the enable the government and also the private sector. That is the most essential part, ensure the long-term sustainability. Thank you.
Maya, please.
So again, I think I will cover a lot of the points that were already touched upon, but as is true for Asia, is also true for Latin America and the Caribbean. We're trying to support the local governments in building up the institutional capacities to implement these systems reliably. There is a lot of innovation in the region already. There's digital tools for traceability. There's AI chatbots to personalize recommendations. There's AI-based image recognition tools. But one challenge that we've seen is that the agricultural systems remain highly fragmented. So just to give an example from a related topic, a lot of the countries are working on georeferencing agricultural parcels to comply with the new regulations on deforestation-free trade. And this would be great information to feed into any systems that want to provide weather forecasting information. But these information systems are not necessarily within the same institutions that then provide weather data. So there needs to be a big push to harmonize these data, to have these different systems and platforms talk with each other, and to build that shared infrastructure to really make this work. And that requires the capacity and also the institutional cooperation. So we've been working with a couple of countries. We just launched a regional techno cooperation that has, for now, is starting with countries in the Andean region, Bolivia, Colombia, and Peru, to first assess the capacity, the meteorological institutions, the agricultural ministries, and the extension systems to understand where they're currently at, how their systems are working with, talking to each other, and then also providing training so that there exists in-house capacity and capability to use those systems. And then again, scaling access to these digital services. I like what you said about the gender and diversity lens. We also need to understand how these systems are used separately by different vulnerable groups to then be able to transmit that information on, you know, extreme weather events and rising temperatures to the farmers. And I think another important aspect is that a lot of that information on weather, you know, is available globally. So really it's a public good that can be provided at the regional level. So we've been working on creating a geoportal that provides some of that weather information and climatic information for now, just historically, but for all of the countries at the lowest administrative unit in the country, so municipalities, for instance, and making information on extreme temperature shocks and flood factors have that information to better understand the the changing climatic conditions and the farming needs in their local context. And in that way, trying to support the region and having that information widely available and having a larger platform that is not, you know, country specific or system specific. But ultimately, there needs to be a lot more a concerted effort to have these different systems speak with each other and have the institutional capacity, you know, use them reliably.
Thanks, Maya. So you heard from Xingfeng and Maya about the type of work that the MDBs do. They're very good at dealing with these broader institutional issues. They already have internal systems for thinking in terms of sustainability in the long run after a project is done, a lot of the issues that we're talking about. But things are moving fast with weather. And as Maya said, it's a global public good. And so we have to figure out what the are. There's this need to benchmark, which Gates is working on. There's the need to deliver that. And so we're trying to help through Aim for Scale, get everyone to be talking to each other in forums like this, online, and different mechanisms to try to push this agenda forward so that we can ultimately scale these innovations using the strengths of the different institutions that we're talking about to push this forward. So my last question, we'll let you go first, Maya, since I keep making you go last, since you're on the end there. So the last thing is, in the last few minutes that we have, if you could think of identify one priority action to ensure that innovations in climate services deliver measurable benefits for farmers in the next 2 years, what would that be? So what we're really trying to do, and I want to emphasize the farmer focus, because we talk to a lot of people in meteorological organizations, and they often forget that farmers have particular needs, right? So you need to give them weather information, you know, in the short run, the medium run, the long run, to help them make decisions. And so for farmers themselves, what are some immediate actions you can take at the IDB to help push forward this agenda? And we'll work our way across. You can hand the microphone over. So the same question to all of you in 1 minute or so.
Yeah, so as you said, at IDB and at ADB, our focus is on supporting countries in the implementation. You know, we're not the ones who develop the technology. We just try to support the adoption of these technologies. So I think a key priority will be to strengthen the local capacity to use them and effectively promote adoption at the ground level. So I think as I said before, I think it's important to strengthen the capacity within the national meteorological agencies, within agriculture institutions, to have the systems to use that information, and then also focus on understanding how effective dissemination can work on the ground. So having the right channels, the right mechanisms to cater to the different needs, the heterogeneous needs of the different farming populations. Yeah, so for us, for the Gates Foundation, we are going to be working a lot on sub-Saharan Africa. And I want to emphasize seasonal climate forecasts and how critical they are for planning. And that somehow we are in a situation where they are not really serving local decision makers. And the reason for this is because they are very generic in nature. They lack a specificity, and what we mentioned, the delivery is not at the right time. And we believe that addressing these challenges is more than just technical improvements, even though the Gates Foundation, we invest a lot on the innovations and latest technologies. We believe that in order to address this issue, and this is why we are so happy that we are starting a grant ACMAT, because we think that in order to make these seasonal climate forecasts more actionable and for decision-making process, we need to enhance institutional collaboration. So we are working on that. Standardized forecasting methodologies in sub-Saharan Africa, and very important, strengthening the capacity at national and subnational levels. So we hope that this is going to bring a lot of good work to the seasonal climate forecast, that it's going to be serving local decision making.
You ask me one thing, I give two or three, sorry. As I have the bank in to me, we need institutional support. I mean, we know what to do. I mean, we know quite well what to do. There's a lot of documentation, a lot of studies, a lot of piloting. The question is really institutional support to make it upscale. I think that's very important. Unfortunately, many countries in Africa, especially for Africa, has other priorities, education, health, so they cannot really support on that. So institutional support will be really something great to have upscale. One thing also I think is missing and important is insurance, crop insurance, and product insurance. Many small farmers, holders, are fragile. There are a lot of things happening in Africa, especially in climate change, that can change things rapidly. We know many farmers, we work with them, we discuss with them. One drought, one big event, one hurricane, whatever, can only change a lot of things. So we need to find a backup plan for the farmers to ensure that they'll get it. Of course, the last one, sorry again, is indigenous knowledge. It's not just the knowledge itself, but it's kind of a trust. Farmers who are doing it many years, from father to son, so on and so forth. So it's part of their society, it's the cultural things. So coming and bringing something new, even the technology is sound, everything is sound, but it disrupts somehow their, kind of milestone. So you need really to bridge somehow to connect what they know, so they can take. When using indigenous knowledge, farmers take it very quickly because they know already those kind of things. They identify in their culture, and when you come in and use it, it works very fine. And unfortunately, it's not well used. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, from the ADB perspective, we're going to focus on how we can upgrade the country's forecast system and collect the systems directed with the agricultural services. Again, the type of the collections need to focus on three key things, which is really the weakness in our developing member countries. Number one is reliable local observations. Number two is higher resolutions forecasts. Number three is the faster data delivery to the agricultural systems. So again, ADB investment for the next few years, of course, all together with the WMO and also the M-Scale and many of our partners, I think this is a very critical. Without these fundamental things, basic service tool will not work with the meaningful, the farmers' benefits. So again, from the ADB side, if we invest it together in this fundamental sense, the most weakness is the areas for the next few years. I believe we will see there some real improvement in farmers' decisions and also productivity and also resilience. And then this M scale really can take it for the next decades. Thank you so much, Paul. Congratulations.
Thanks. I think Usman's statement that we know what to do is the thing that you should take away from this. I think it's clear we have a good sense, and this is part of why Aim for Scale exists. I've worked at EFAD, the Inter-American Development Bank, as well as academia, and one of the frustrations is that you have these kind of exciting innovations, and you know what to do, but no one's doing it because it's very hard, and it's not because they don't want to. It's very hard institutionally to do a lot of these types of things. And so what we're hoping to do is to try to get people working together and to address what Maya called the fragmentation in the space, to do that. So we know what to do. We know, as a number of you said, that we should be doing this at national levels within countries, help them build the capacity. Now we just hope that we can do it. So thanks to the panelists for joining us, for being partners with Aim for Scale and to working with us. Thanks to Albert for the WMO's speaking here, but also your support in Aim for Scale. And thanks for all of you for joining us. Have a good day. Just about to ask you yours.